Welcome to another video of Target 23 series, and in today's video I'll be discussing about the constitutional provisions related to official language. This topic is important from prelims as well as mains point of view because the matter of official language keeps popping up in national media quite frequently. In fact, last year there was some sort of controversy when Bollywood actor and actors from southern film industry were involved in an open discussion on official language. So in this video I will be talking about the history and background of the official language in India. Then I will talk about part 17 of the Indian Constitution, which contains provisions regarding official language. Then I will talk about linguistic minority, who are linguistic minorities in our country, and then I have some miscellaneous points which is relevant from preliminary point. And in the end I have posted some questions also, so that you can self-assess whether after watching the video you can answer those questions or not. Okay, so please watch the video till the end, and if you like, please like, share, subscribe and comment on the video. Thank you. So let me begin the video. So let me begin with history and the background of official language in India. Now, as you know, Constituent Assembly was given the task of framing up the constitution. On most matters, the members of the Constituent Assembly had consensus among themselves, but on the matter of official language, the Constituent Assembly was divided. It was basically divided in two camps. One camp supported Hindi to be adopted as the national language, whereas the other camp objected to this view and said that immediate imposition of Hindi would be undemocratic and imprudent upon the people who are non-speakers of Hindi language. So Dr. Ambedkar was to that Hindi should be adopted as the single national language, which would ultimately forge unity among the people of our country. This is because he had this view that one language unites people and more than one language divides people. So, but the other camp, as I said, did not want the immediate imposition of Hindi because they felt that non-Hindi speakers will be at a disadvantage, and especially those from southern India, they would be at disadvantage because of the sudden imposition of Hindi. So there was this deadlock between those two camps. This deadlock was resolved by the then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who appointed a commission in which members were like K.M. Munshi, K.C. Iyengar, N.C. Iyengar, T.T. Krishnamachari, Dr. Ambedkar himself and others also. So this commission discussed the matter of official language for 3 days and presented a 180-page report. This report became famous by the name of Munshi-Iyengar formula, and this part 17 of our Indian Constitution is a direct result of this report. So the matter of official language was thus politically resolved by Munshi-Iyengar political formula, and then part 17 of the Indian Constitution was formally adopted by the Constituent Assembly on September 14, 1949. So this is little bit about the history of official language in our country. So in the next section I will begin with part 17 of our Constitution. Part 17 of the Indian Constitution, as you know, was adopted on September 14th, 1949. So this section, this part has been given the heading official language, and it contains all the provisions regarding official language in our country. So part 17 of the Indian Constitution is divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter, Language of the Union, which contains articles 343 and 344. Next chapter is on regional languages, which contains articles 345, 346 and 347. The next chapter is on the language of Supreme Court, High Court, etc. and this matter is dealt in articles 348 and 349. In the end, the chapter 4 contains some special directives, which is contained in articles 350 and 351. So in a nutshell, you can say that part 17 of the Indian Constitution ranges from articles 343 to 351. A little bit about parts also you must know. Originally, when the constitution was framed for the first time, it had 22 parts and 395 articles. Later on, as of now, there are 25 parts and around 448 articles. So this is some additional fact which you must know. So now let me discuss the first chapter of part 17, which is the language of the Union. So as you know, chapter 1 contains two articles, articles 343 and 344. Two articles are there. So let us first discuss article 343. Now article 343 declares that Hindi, written in Devanagari script, as one of the official languages of India. One of the official languages means that India has at least one other official language. So as of now, India has two official languages. Hindi and English. At the same time, I must tell you here itself that India does not have a national language. India does not have a national language. It only has official language and scheduled languages. India does not have a national language. Now this article 343 further clarifies that Indian numerals written in international form is to be used for all official purposes. So this international form is a form which we know and which we use almost daily, this form. So Indian numerals written in international form is to be used for all official purposes. The article further adds that English is to continue as the other official language for 15 years from the date of commencement of the constitution. Now our constitution commenced on January 26, 1950. So article 343 had the provision that English can continue as an official language till 1965. But then this article itself further says that or empowers the parliament by way of law to provide for continuance of English as one of the official languages after the expiry of 15 years from the commencement of the constitution. So the article itself says that if the parliament wants, it can bring an act and provide for the continuance of English as the official language in addition to Hindi, right? So in fact, Parliament did bring an act for this purpose known as the Official Language Act. (1963), and this has perpetuated the use of English as official language till now, and this article, the provisions of this act holds till today. So similarly, the parliament also has the power to make provisions for the use of Indian numerals written in Devanagari script for all purpose instead of the international form. So if the parliament wants, it can provide for the use of Indian numerals written in Devanagari script in place of the international form which we use till today. But as of now, parliament has not brought about such an act. So the Indian numerals written in international form is still in use. So this is about article 343. Now let me go through article 344. Now as you know, English was to continue to be used for 15 years after the commencement of the constitution. So what would happen after 15 years? So in that respect, the article 344 says that the president can appoint a commission and a parliamentary committee on official language to look into this matter. So what will happen after 15 years? So in pursuance of his duties, the president actually appointed the Official Language Commission in 1955 itself under the chairpersonship of Mr. Bal Gangadhar Kher. Now this commission became popular by the name of Kher Commission, and it submitted its report in the year 1956. Right. So this commission recommended various measures to be taken for the promotion of Hindi so that Hindi becomes the lingua franca of India. Now what is lingua franca? Lingua franca is basically the connecting language which connects people of speakers of different language. One of the recommendations of Kher Commission was that question papers should also be printed in Hindi as a way of promotion of Hindi. So this is the reason why we have UPSC questions printed in Hindi as well as English. So we need not go through other recommendations, just remember that it recommended for the promotion of Hindi. Now once this report was presented, then what happened is that the first Parliamentary Committee on Official Language was appointed in the year 1957 to review the recommendations of Kher Commission. Right. So this Parliamentary Committee on Official Language was appointed in 1957 to review the recommendations of the Kher Commission. Now this committee had 30 members. 20 were drawn from 30 members, 20 were drawn from Lok Sabha, lower house, and 10 members were drawn from Rajya Sabha or the upper house. Okay. So this committee had 30 members. Even today when this committee is formed, it has 30 members, 20 drawn from Lok Sabha and 10 drawn from Rajya Sabha. The then Union Home Minister Mr. Govind Ballabh Pant was made the chairperson of this committee. So since then it has become a convention to appoint the Union Home Minister as the chairperson of this Committee on Official Language. So right now there is a Committee on Official Language, and obviously the chairperson of this committee is Mr. Amit Shah, who is the Union Home Minister. So such a Committee on Official Language has been regularly constituted. Now the constitution does not say who will be the chairperson of this committee, but as a convention it has happened, it has so happened that the Union Home Minister becomes the chairperson of this committee, although it has not been mentioned in the constitution. Then further, Official Languages Act 1963 was enacted, which perpetuated the use of English as one of the official languages after the completion of 15 years of the commencement of the Indian Constitution, that is after 1965. This point I have already talked about, which says that since English was to be used for 15 years and Parliament had the power to perpetuate the use of English after 15 years by bringing an act. So this Official Languages Act 1963 was brought about, and now English in addition to Hindi is one of the official languages. Now what about the regional language? Now regional languages have been dealt in chapter 2. So chapter 2 is headed official language of the state. Now it has 3 articles, article 345, 346 and 347. Now let us go through these articles one by one. Article 345. Now article 345 is very similar to article 343, which is applicable to the states. It says that states can use any language used in the state concerned for official purposes or use Hindi. So let's take the example of Assam. Now in Assam we know there are 2 major languages spoken, Assamese as well as Bodo. So article 355 gives the state the power to use any language in use in this state for official purposes or use Hindi. So in Assam they can use either Assamese or Bodo or both as the official language in that state if the state legislature wants to do so. Also the use of English for official purposes would continue except when the state legislature has expressly prohibited it. Now, unless the state legislature has expressly prohibited the use of English, English shall continue to be used for official purposes. Now, this is what is contained in Article 345. Now, what about Article 346? Article 346 talks about the official, the language of communication, official communication between two or more states. So, Article 346 says that official languages of the Union shall be used for official communication between two or more states. Now, what are the official languages of the Union? Obviously, Hindi and English. So, either Hindi or English can be used for official communication between two or more states. But if two or more states agree, then only Hindi can be used for the official communication between these states. That is, the use of English can be done away with. Now, this can happen only with two or more states agree on this matter. Otherwise, the official communication can be in the official languages of the Union, which at present is Hindi as well as English. So, if two states want to communicate between each other, then they can use either Hindi or English or both, unless obviously if they have agreed to use only Hindi as the language for official communication. Now, what about Article 347? Article 347 gives some sort of safeguards to the linguistic minorities. It says that the Union through the President can declare any language in use in the state concerned as the official language of the state if there is a popular demand for the inclusion of that language as the official language in the state concerned. Now, it gives some sort of power to the Union government in to resolve any protest regarding official or language to be used in the state. Now, as I have just told you, I have talked about Assam, so let us continue with that example only. So, let us say Assam only had Assamese as the official language and they were not ready to include Bodo as the official language, but at the same time there is a continued protest by the people of Assam who want to include Bodo as one of the official languages. So, in that case, what can happen is that the Union can intervene. Union can intervene through President given through President under the Article 347. So, what can the Union do through President? It can declare this language to be used as official language in that state. So, if the Union wants, it can make any language in use in a state as one of the official languages of that state. Okay. So, now we have seen the language of the Union, language of the state. Now, let us see what is the language to be used in Supreme Court, High Court, etc. So, here there are two articles, Article 348 and 349. So, Article 348 talks about the language to be used for all official purposes in Supreme Court, High Courts and for the purpose of bringing in bills, acts, ordinances, etc. in the legislatures. Obviously, these things are to be brought in legislature, Union legislature or state legislature. Now, this article says that English language is to be used for all official purposes in the Supreme Court and High Court to issue decree, orders, judgment, etc. as also in the Union legislature and state legislatures to introduce bills, acts and ordinances. So, this article favors English as the language to be used for the purpose of pronunciation of decrees, orders as well as judgments, and at the same time introduction of bills, ordinances, acts, etc. in the Union legislature and the state legislature. Now, this act talks about some special provisions regarding language to be used in the High Court. It says that if the governor of a state want, with the prior permission of the president, he can declare a language in use in the state as the official language to be used in the proceedings of High Court, provided that the said language is not to be used for purposes of decree, order or judgment pronounced by the concerned High Court. So, what it basically means is that the governor has the power to declare any language to be used as the language used in the proceeding of the High Court. not to pronounce judgments, decrees or orders. For the purpose of pronouncing decree, order or judgment, only English has to be used, but for arguments in the court or proceedings in the court, regional language or the official language of the state can be used if the governor of the state declares so, that too with the prior permission of the union. At the same time, the governor can, with the prior approval of the president, authorize any language in use in the state for the introduction of any bill, act or ordinance in the concerned state. So the same thing, I mean, if the governor, if he wants, he can declare any language to be used for the purpose of introduction of any bill, ordinance or act in the state legislature, but this he can do only with the prior permission of the president. And when any such language other than English is used for this purpose, then a copy or a translation of the same must be published in the official gazette of the state, and that if any contradiction arises, the text in English will be more authoritative. Now the thing is that if let's say the governor has announced that bills in Assam government can be introduced in Bodo language. Now since governor has declared this, bills and acts can be produced in Bodo language, but at the same time this article 348 says that when Bodo language is used for introduction of bill, act or ordinances, then a copy of the same bill, act or ordinance has to be published in English language in the official gazette of the state. And if there is a contradiction regarding which version is correct, I mean sometimes what happens is that during translation there is some contradiction regarding words. So if such a contradiction arises, then the text written in English language will be given more power. I mean it will be more authoritative, right? So this is all about article 348. Now article 349 is mostly defunct because it contained provisions to be implemented within the 15 years of the commencement of the constitution. Now those 15 years has already been passed, so the provisions of article 349 is mostly defunct, so we need not go into the details of this article. Now let us talk about chapter 4, which is the special directives. Now there are 4 articles in this chapter: article 350, 350A, 350B and 351. Now what does article 350 say? Article 350 says that for the purpose of grievance, the citizen of the state can use any language used in the state. So it need not be can use any language in the state for presenting her grievance, which means let us talk about Bihar only. So in Bihar, languages like people speak Hindi, Bhojpuri, Maithili, Angika and so on. So for the purpose of presenting a grievance, the citizen of the state can use any of these languages, which means that it is not necessary that this language should be the official language of the state. Any of the languages used in the state can be used for presenting the grievance. Now this article basically gives power to the citizen. It safeguards some of the rights of the citizen, so that any citizen of the state will not be at a disadvantageous position just because he or she does not know the official language of the state. So this is all about article 350. Now article 350A, it says that mother language is to be used at the primary stage of education of children belonging to linguistic minority group. So if there is a linguistic minority group residing within the state, then the mother language of that group is to be used at the primary level of education of those children belonging to that linguistic minority. Now I will talk about linguistic minority in just a few minutes. So what about article 350B? Now article 350B is again an article provided to give some safeguard to the official to linguistic minorities of the country. Now this article gives the power to the president to appoint a special officer for linguistic minorities whose duty will be to investigate all matters relating to the safeguards provided for linguistic minorities and present a report of the same before the President, who shall then cause it to be laid before both the houses of the parliament as well as before the concerned state legislature. So what it basically means is that the President can appoint a special officer for linguistic minorities. He can appoint a special officer for linguistic minorities whose duty will be to investigate all matters relating to the safeguards provided for the linguistic minorities, and in doing so he will make a report, and this report will then be presented to the President, who will then cause it to be laid before the union legislature as well as the state legislature, the concerned state. The matter is regarding which state. In that state, that report can be, made to be presented in that state legislature by the President. So this is about Article 350B. Now Articles 350, 350A and 350B provide safeguard to the linguistic minorities of the country. Article 351. Now Article 351 is the most controversial article, because this article talks about the duty of the union to promote Hindi as the official language so that it becomes lingua franca of the country. Now the thing is that under Article 351, the central government or the union government is duty bound to promote Hindi. Now what happens is that when the union government does so in any non-Hindi speaking state, there is more often than not protests erupt in that state. Now that is why the matter of official language keeps on popping up in national media. So this article sometimes becomes controversial, because when the union government tries to promote Hindi in non-speaking Hindi states as mandated under Article 351, more often than not protests erupt in that part of the country, and the problem of official language once again becomes the headlines of national media. Now a case at hand is the case of Bangalore Metro, where when the Bangalore Metro printed the names of the stations in Hindi as well as English and Kannada, the people of Bangalore protested against this. They did not want the station names to be published in Hindi. So such type of controversy keeps on erupting time to time. So that is why this topic becomes important from UPSC point of view. So as promised, now let me talk about linguistic minority. Now the first thing which you must know is that this term linguistic minority is nowhere defined in the Constitution. It is nowhere defined in the Constitution. It is nowhere defined in the Constitution. So whatever understanding we have is based on the judgments or interpretations by the respected courts. So linguistic minorities are groups or collectivities of individuals residing in the territory of India, or of having a distinct language or script of its own. Right? They must have a distinct language and a script, and that language should not be one of the 22 scheduled languages mentioned in the 8th schedule. In other words, linguistic minorities at the state level mean any group or groups of people whose mother tongue are different from the principal language of the state, and at the district and taluka level different from the principal language of the district or taluka concerned. Right. So linguistic minorities must have a distinct language and script of their own, and that language should not be one of the 22 scheduled languages. So since linguistic minority has nowhere been defined in the Constitution, so it is very difficult to present a purely technical and correct definition of this. So whatever we understand is based on the interpretation made by the honorable courts. Now what are the Constitution's safeguards for constitutional minorities? Obviously Article 29, Article 30, Article 347 we have talked about, Article 350, 350A, 350D, 350B, these articles we have already talked about, and then we have some fundamental rights, Article 14, 15 and 16. Now Article 29 and 30 we all know, it's a part of the fundamental rights. So I'll not talk here. When I'll make a video on fundamental rights, then I'll talk about articles 29 and 30, as also article 14, 15 and 16. Now I have included some miscellaneous points which may be relevant from prelims point of view. So other articles related to official languages, article 120 and article 210. Now article 120 gives the power to the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha or the speaker of the Lok Sabha to allow a member to address the house in whatever language she wants, irrespective of Hindi or English or any of the scheduled languages. So it basically gives some sort of freedom of expression to the members of parliament to express their views in their own mother tongue. Now their mother tongue can need not, I mean, if it is not one of the 22 scheduled languages or Hindi or English, still if the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha or the speaker of the Lok Sabha wants, he or she can allow that member to express her views in her own mother tongue. So same sort of provision is mentioned in article 210 with respect to states. Same, the speaker of the house can allow a member to address the house in her own language. Now schedule 8 of the Indian constitution contains scheduled languages which have 22 entries at present. So initially when the constitution was first framed in 1950, there were 14 languages included in schedule 8 of the constitution. Now those languages were Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Malayalam, Marathi, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu and Urdu. So these languages were the 14 original languages mentioned in schedule 8 of the Indian constitution. Later in 1967, Sindhi became the first language to the list by the 21st Constitutional Amendment Act. Later on in 1992, this schedule 8 of the constitution was again amended by way of the 71st Amendment Act, in which Konkani, Manipuri and Nepali were added. Now Manipuri language is sometimes also written as Meitei language. So these languages were added by the 71st Constitutional Amendment Act in 1992. Now again in 2003, Bodo, Dogri, Mathili and Santhali were added by the 92nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Now in 2011, the spelling of Odia was changed by ODIA by the 96th Constitutional Amendment Act. This is not too important, but I'll just mention it. So according to 2011 linguistic survey, there are 121 mother languages, including 22 languages listed in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now Hindi with 52.2 crore speakers is the most widely spoken language in country, which accounts to about 43.63% of Indian population, followed by Bengali, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, Gujarati, Urdu, etc. Right. At the same time, more than 1383 languages were reported by people as their mother tongues in 2011 linguistic census. So all in all, it says that India is a multicultural, multilinguistic country. So there are, as you can see, more than 1383 languages were reported as mother tongues by the people of this country. In fact, there may be some even more than this number. So now, as promised, let us go through the questions, and you can now self-assess yourself whether you have understood this topic or not. Now question number 1, consider the following statements. India does not have a national language. Now let's see what we have to do here. We have to find out which of the above statements are correct. So is it correct that India does not have a national language? Obviously this is a correct statement. Why? Because India national language, it only has two official languages. It does not have a national language. So this statement is correct, and those two official languages are Hindi and English. So this is a correct statement. India has more than one official language. Obviously this is also correct because just now we have seen India has two official languages. Mizo is one of the scheduled languages mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. We have gone through the languages mentioned in the 8th schedule and we do not find the name of Mizo listed there. So this is a incorrect statement, right? So Konkani was included in the 8th schedule by 71st Constitutional Amendment Act. This again is a correct statement which we have seen. So based on the fact which we know, statement 1, 2 and 3, 4 are correct. So the option A is correct, 1, 2 and 4 only. So this option is correct. I hope you have all got the correct answer. Let's see the second question. Consider the following statements regarding the Parliamentary Committee on Official Languages. Okay, let us see. It has equal representation from both the houses of the parliament. No, this statement is wrong. It has 30 members, 20 drawn from Lok Sabha and 10 drawn from Rajya Sabha, which means that there is no equal representation from both the houses. So this is a incorrect statement. Speaker of the Lok Sabha is the chairperson of this committee by convention. No, again this is a incorrect statement because by convention it is usually the Union Home Minister who is the chairperson of this committee. So this again is an incorrect statement. It is constituted under Article 344 of the Indian Constitution. So okay, this is correct statement. So the question is, how many of the above statements are incorrect? So obviously first two statements are incorrect. So the correct option is option B, which is only two statements are incorrect. Again, I hope you got this answer correct. Come to question number 3. Consider the following statements. Only 3 languages were added to the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution by the 92nd Constitutional Amendment Act. And now what we have to do here, we have to find out which of the above statements are correct. So this is an incorrect statement because 4 languages were added, right? 4 languages were Bodo, Dogri, Bodo is spoken in Assam, Dogri is spoken in Himachal Pradesh and Jammu region, Mathili is spoken in the Mithilanchal region of Bihar, which is North Bihar, and then Santhali was also there. Now Santhali is the mother language of our Honorable President, Mrs. Draupadi Murmu. So statement 1 is incorrect. Now Bodo, Dogri and Mathili were the languages added to the Indian Constitution. So this is a correct statement because even though Santhali is not mentioned here, still Bodo, Dogri and Mathili were definitely added by the 92nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So this is how UPSC catches you. So even though you might say that this statement is wrong, but there is nothing wrong in this statement. Just because Santhali has not been mentioned, it does not make the statement incorrect. Because Bodo, Dogri and Mathili were definitely the languages added by the 92nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So this is a correct statement. Under Article 343 of the Indian Constitution, the Union government is obligated to promote Hindi as the official language of the Union. No, this is not Article 343, rather it is Article 351. So this statement is also incorrect. So the correct option is option C, which is 2 only. Okay, question number 4. Consider the following statements. Article 120 mandates that business in the parliament can be transacted only in the official languages of the union without any exception. No, this is wrong because as we have seen under Article 120, the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha or the speaker of the Lok Sabha can allow a business in a mother tongue. So this is incorrect statement. According to Article 210, business in the state legislature can be transacted only in Hindi or the official language of the concerned state. This again is wrong because the speaker of that legislature can allow member to speak freely in her own mother tongue. So which of the following statements are incorrect? Now both the statements are incorrect. So correct option is option C. Question number 5. Consider the following statements. Prime Minister is the ex officio chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Official Language. No, this is incorrect statement because generally it is the Union Home Minister. Generally, by convention also, not mandated. Convention. So first statement is incorrect. Parliamentary Committee on Official Language has 35 members. No, this is incorrect because it has 30 members. So incorrect. Official Language Commission was appointed in 1955 under the chairpersonship of Sri Bal Gangadhar Kher. So this is a correct statement. This is wrong. This is correct. Now, Official Language Act 1963 provided for the continued use of English as one of the official language in the country. Now, this is also correct. So, option, how many of the above statements are correct? So, 2 statements are correct. So, option B is the correct answer. Question number 6. Which of the following statements regarding linguistic minorities is incorrect? Remember, we have to see which is incorrect. Okay. So, linguistic minorities are group or collectivities of individuals residing in the territory of India or any part thereof having a distinct language or script of its own. So, this is a correct statement. Under Article 29 of the Indian Constitution, linguistic minorities can establish and administer their own educational institution. So, this statement is incorrect because this comes under Article 30, not 29. Now, option C, under Article 350B of the Indian Constitution, the President has to appoint a special officer for linguistic minorities. So, this is also correct. So, the correct answer is correct statement. So, option B is the incorrect statement. So, option B is the correct answer, and I hope you got this answer right. For watching this video, and if you like the video, please feel free to like, share, subscribe and comment on the video. Until then, bye bye and see you in the next video. Thank you.